it's good to have you. We thought you might be whipping votes this morning because it looks like today's going to be a pretty interesting day across the street.
Well, we just got to get the budget done, and then we've got to make sure we don't have tax increases on towns and cities across North Carolina. And I'd like to get this bonds to allow the people to vote in November for bonds for our roads, our universities, our community colleges, some K through 12 education, water and sewer. We've got some great opportunities. I just hope we take advantage of those opportunities.
The House passed their version of the bond package yesterday, $2.8 billion, about the same number as your proposal, but theirs is a little different. Are you happy with what they've done?
I think they've done a good job. In fact, we always said all along that we're going to be flexible in whatever we propose, and we welcome their input. I think it's good. I frankly think we could use more money on roads, but I've got a Senate right now that doesn't want to put any more money in roads, so I'm willing to compromise, but why not let the voters decide this? Let's not decide it inside the Beltline here in Raleigh. Let's let the voters, including the great people of Greenville, decide.
Governor Pat McCrory here with us this morning. Governor, the other big news yesterday was the surprise to us, obviously not to you, resignation of Secretary Aldana Vosch, who has been running the Department of Health and Human Services. I know you're very close to Secretary Vosch. You got pretty emotional in the press conference yesterday.
I did. I'm still emotional about it. Nice purple tie, by the way.
Of course.
Which, by the way, something we didn't talk about Aldana Vosch is she's a big supporter of the hospital at East Carolina and the med school, and she did a lot working with you and others in making sure we
got some
keep
of the Vidant folks
alive.
out here right now.
We're going to miss Aldana, and I get emotional about my team who commit public time to public service, and I've kept it a secret almost a month and a half to 2 months, and kind of surprised everyone yesterday, but. And then I had to read the McClatchy newspaper this morning, the Raleigh News and Observer.
I saw it.
They can't even be classy. I mean, they are the least classy editorial page in the United States of America. They ask for respectful dialogue among politicians, and then they don't even say thank you for public service to Secretary Vosch. So, it's kind of classless editorial page, but I'm proud of her work.
Was the timing of her departure, does it have anything to do with the good news that you just announced that the Medicaid budget, you ended up with $130 million in the budget, extra cash
in hand,
at the end of
that had nothing to do with it, but it was nice to be able to say that. But a month and a half ago, I don't know the exact date, she just came into my little study in the executive mansion and said, Governor, it's time. I got to take some time off with my family. And she was committing so much time and energy and taking all the bullets for me and some of the cheap shots from even across the street from a few people. And she just handled it with dignity and class. And I'm going to miss her. She stayed about a half year longer than I anticipated. I think she was hoping to stay till the end of session, but God knows when that might happen.
Well, the Speaker of the House is on the way over here right now. He's going to be on
he
here.
better be over. I've got a breakfast with him.
I know,
so
you guys
better not keep him long.
I'm going to get him.
Tell him the eggs are going to get cold.
I'm going to get him to your meeting on time this morning. How optimistic are you now that they're back at work, and there were some discussions yesterday about some things that the Senate is willing to compromise on? How optimistic are you that we're going to get a budget here in the next couple of weeks?
Well, the definition of compromise is quite unique in Raleigh. When you have a $20,000 car and you ask for 80 and you said you're willing to take 60, that's a unique definition of compromise. But the Senate and I think, totally agree on some issues of how much we should spend and increase spending and not have it to go overboard. And yet, I want the bonds passed, and I don't want a tax increase on many of the localities of probably 6 or 7 million people in local towns of that transfer tax. So, I've compromised a lot too regarding the bonds, and have some flexibility there. I've compromised on a lot of issues, but now's the time for leadership. I mean, God, we've got a $400 million surplus. Who would have imagined? Let's make some decisions and get out of town.
Obviously, Eastern North Carolina people want to hear your views on some of the things in the budget that could affect the healthcare community. We got some of the healthcare folks here this morning. Medicaid reform, eliminating the tax deduction for hospitals, certificate of need bill. All of that stuff is up as part of this budget. And we have real concerns in Eastern North Carolina about how that might affect our economy. What are your thoughts?
My new DHHS Secretary, Rick Brazier, who's going to be, this guy's incredible, by the way. I'm so glad to get another talent of someone willing to work for $100,000 or a little bit more, $140,000, and he's got an MBA from Stanford University. He's a former CEO, and he's going to be working 12, 14 hours a day running a 16, 18,000 employees, and he's going to be reviewing all those measures. But I think the main issue of Medicaid reform is we've got to control cost and improve quality of service, but we don't want to tear up the good system that we already have. We want to improve upon the good system we have, not tear it up. And that's where Aldona Voss felt very strongly, and I felt the same way. So we've got to make sure in reforming we don't destroy. Reforming means improving upon the system we have, getting rid of the things that aren't working, but improving upon the things that are working. And that's what my goal is at this point in time. And that also doesn't include creating another new bureaucracy to run Medicaid. That's the last thing we need at this point in time, is another new bureaucracy. I've got a great business guy who's got a healthcare experience who can lead. And the last thing I want to do is have him come into this job now and have to report or have another bureaucracy that have to deal with very complex healthcare issues, and then I've got to solve the fights between two different bureaucracies. I don't believe in that's good reorganization. Reorganization doesn't necessarily mean reform.
Yep. I know you got to go. Are you hoping that the change, Secretary Voss has been such a lightning rod, and because Medicaid has been such a problem in North Carolina, I think she's been criticized way too much. I think she did a great job. I know her personally. She's done a great job. But now that she is out, do you have any hopes that maybe the Senate will back off their position a little bit of changing
You'll
the
have to
Medicaid?
ask them. I don't know. But I don't think she's been a lightning rod. I think she's been doing her job.
Well, I don't mean lightning rod. I mean lightning rod in that she's just been the person that's been catching the heat.
Yeah. She caught a lot of heat for even the 100 counties because much of this responsibility is to the 100 counties, and she refused to transfer the blame to some of the few counties that had breakdown in services regarding food stamps and others. But I'll tell you, I'm just so proud of her. And I'm very, very proud that we got Rick to be willing to have that type of talent step up. I think he's going to be a very, very good successor, and I didn't think we could replace her. But that's why I've been keeping it quiet for over a month, that I had a successor. After she announced her retirement, Rick kind of fell in my lap, and I don't want to discourage him from doing the job before he even gets here.
News Observer this morning also made some comments about the number of people in your cabinet that have left. Tony Tata last week, Aldona Voss this week. I know that some of those people are actually staying in your cabinet.
Yeah, it was a little misleading article.
They talked about 6 of 8 people.
I can't keep responding to the News Observer. I mean, or WRAL. I don't think they're on my side.
Yeah. you get that feeling now?
I think they have other viewpoints that they kind of have an agenda,
right?
And their agenda is not my agenda, so I'm not going to respond. I've got great public servants, and we've got a couple public servants about to come in here. You need to get them on the microphone because I'm having breakfast with them this morning.
Oh, good. Well, Phil Berger just walked in. Maybe we can get him on too. Well, good to see you, Governor. Thank you much.
Thank you, man.